Now, this one, President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Maputo, the capital of Mozambique, leading the South African delegation at the Southern African Development Community's extraordinary Double Troika Summit. Heads of state are discussing terrorism in the region, including insecurity in Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. Over 700,000 people have been displaced in the province since 2017. The summit is expected to enforce commitment to bringing lasting peace and security in the SADC region. The president is accompanied by International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor, Defense Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, and the State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo. Well, let's discuss the significance of this SADC meeting. We know that SADC has made a commitment to try and assist Mozambique militarily and otherwise to bring peace to northern Cabo Delgado province. I'm now joined by Professor Adrian Nuvunga from the Mozambique Center of Democracy and Development. Prof, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. This meeting of SADC is coming after a couple of weeks ago when proposals of how to deal with the situation in northern Mozambique were leaked, and that summit never took place. Are those proposals, from what you know, still on the table? That is, will we see a SADC military presence on the ground in northern Mozambique anytime soon?
Good afternoon. This is the expectation. Let me start by saying this situation of insurgency in northern Mozambique, it has been lingering for the past 3 years and a half without convincing solution from the Mozambique government. And we have been calling for SADC to intervene as Mozambique was not successful in repelling these insurgents, which has created Mozambique's biggest humanitarian crisis since independence. And finally, SADC is in town, is discussing. Its report was leaked, but that is still on table. And this is what the heads of state are discussing today. And the expectation is that SADC will be given a room to intervene in Mozambique's violent extremist crisis in northern Mozambique.
So, Prof. Nuvunga, if it's still on the table, do you think one of the outcomes will be a timetable of when, number one, there will be military presence by SADC in northern Mozambique, and number two, where the humanitarian crisis will be addressed a little bit more effectively going forward?
This is the expectation. It is not clear what the outcome is going to be. What SADC has proposed is a 3,000 battalion to counter violent extremism in northern Mozambique. There have been issues as to how this speaks to the real need in the ground. In our view, what Mozambique needs the most is an intelligence capacity and a capacity to collect data and to process data about the movement of this insurgency, including denying insurgents funding, arms, and rear base in the nearest countries.
Is there clarity, Prof, where the funding is coming from? Because historically, we've seen the Americans a few months ago describing that whole thing as linked to ISIS and issuing some statements about ISIS-linked terrorism in northern Mozambique. Is there clarity from what you know in Maputo who's funding the insurgents?
That is not yet clear as where the funding comes from. There is no doubt that what is happening there, it is driven by local grievances and greed, but it has connections, intersections with international terrorism. So it's important to have a robust intelligence as to who are the people who are behind this in terms of funding, who are supplying arms, and the possible rear base in neighboring countries. And this is where SADC can play an important role. It's in the region, but it has some capacity to do this.
Okay, what about the big natural gas project? Total left and Total is back, because when you look historically, since independence in Mozambique 1975, Cabo Delgado has been relatively peaceful until the discovery a few years ago, 2009, of some precious minerals and, of course, those big natural gas deposits offshore. Is Total back? Is that project on hold until there's peace?
The project is unfortunately on hold. This is a big setback for the Mozambican people, as we look at this as the game changer for a country that is going through basic needs with big humanitarian crisis. It's on hold. President Nyusi was in Paris last week, and it appears that he was told to set things right in terms of improving security in the region. Only then Total can
that's why,
return.
well, then that's why this SADC summit is very important for President Nyusi.
Indeed, this summit is one of Mozambique's biggest opportunity to tap into it and allow SADC to meaningfully participate and support Mozambique in dealing with the insurgency in northern Cabo Delgado.
Yeah, because in the past we've seen the hesitancy. There's been a lot of hesitancy by the Frelimo government to allow foreign military presence, but they were using mercenaries, private military armed people from South Africa.
Indeed, there has been lack of political will to have SADC intervene, and more willingness to use private military groups, which have led into a brutal violation of human rights, including war crimes, and that has ended now. And we see that the way is paved for a more transparent SADC mission to come in, particularly after President going to Paris and being told to go back home and set things right.
And SADC being there is also in the interest of SADC to make sure there is no growing or intensification of any terror attacks in this region. Because as neighbors, they will be worried. South Africa should worry, Tanzania should worry, Malawi should worry.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But also for the sake of coherence of SADC as a regional bloc, it's important that primarily it is SADC intervening. And if additional capacity is needed, then that can be added upon what SADC will have made available to Mozambique.
Well, hopefully that SADC communique that we're all waiting for coming out of Maputo later today or tomorrow will clarify the exact map going forward. Thank you very much for your time, Professor Adrian Nuvunga. He's, of course, a director of the Mozambique Center of Development and Democracy in Maputo, where that SADC meeting is currently taking place.